When my son told me I wouldn't be welcome at his home for Christmas, I smiled, walked to my truck, and made one phone call. By New Year's, their mortgage payments were canceled, and that was just the beginning. There are times when justice must be served, and pride must be taught a lesson. You won't believe what came next. But first, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment telling us where you're listening from. I could cook my famous turkey this year, I offered, settling into Michael's expensive leather sofa. The one with sage stuffing. Your mom used to say it was better than her grandmother's recipe. The scent of Isabella's overpriced vanilla candles lingered in the room as my words hung between us. Michael shifted in his seat, the gold from his wedding ring catching the light from their towering 12-foot Christmas tree. His posture changed, shoulders hunched, bracing for a blow. "Dad, you're not invited for Christmas this year," he said. The words hit like a punch to the gut. I blinked, sure I'd misheard. What do you mean, why not? He couldn't meet my eyes. Instead, he stared at the marble coffee table I'd helped them choose the spring before, when Isabella decided their older furniture didn't look elegant enough. "Isabella's parents are visiting," he mumbled, "and they'd rather you weren't here. They'd rather. It's just easier this way," he added quickly. "Her family has their own traditions." I glanced around their living room, the silk drapes I'd paid for after Isabella complained about the neighbors, the hardwood floors funded by my second mortgage, the crown molding that maxed out my credit cards. Every square inch of that house had been built with my sacrifice and love. Their own traditions, I echoed. "Dad, please, don't make this harder," he said, voice shrinking. From the kitchen, I saw her professional grade KitchenAid mixer, the one she said was essential for a holiday baking phase that lasted all of 3 weeks. $2.00 novelty, barely used. "Where should I spend Christmas then?" I asked, quieter than I meant to. Michael's face softened. "Maybe visit Aunt Rosa, or we could celebrate the weekend after." The weekend after? As if Christmas were just another calendar event. I rose slowly, knees aching from years of carrying burdens I never spoke of. "I see," I said. He tried to stop me, but I was already at the door. I passed the family photos where I grew smaller in every frame, past the closet full of Isabella's luxury coats. My hand closed around the doorknob, cold, solid. Without turning back, I said, "Tell Isabella's parents something for me. Feliz Navidad." The December air hit me like ice as I walked toward my truck. Behind me, Michael called my name once, then the door clicked shut. Firm, final, I sat in the driver's seat, letting the house I built fade into the distance. My phone buzzed, probably Michael trying to patch things up with empty words. I ignored it, turned the key, and drove off into the night. The heater kicked in as I moved through familiar neighborhoods, each corner echoing memories of the man I once was, the man who believed in family above all else, who would give up everything for his child. That man was gone. A fool, really. At the red light on 29th and Grand, I saw a young father loading presents into an SUV. His kids pressed their faces to the window, excitement fogging the glass. That used to be me and Michael. Long before Isabella, before I became a walking wallet whose feelings were inconvenient, the numbers started adding up again in my mind, like a broken slot machine. $2,800 a month for 5 years. My calculator gave up when I hit $140,000. More than Maria and I ever saved for retirement, just gone. The light turned green. I hit the gas harder than needed, the engine roaring in agreement. 5th Street, where I refinanced my home to pay for their down payment. The loan officer had looked at me with pity. Are you sure, Mr. Flores, that's a lot to risk on someone else's dream? Someone else's dream. Not my son's future. Not our family's hopes. Lincoln Street, the bank, where I took out a second mortgage after Michael lost his job. Just temporary, Dad, he said, until I'm back on my feet. Isabella stood behind him, a $700 handbag on her shoulder, nodding like I was her investment portfolio. I pulled into my driveway, concrete cracked, porch light flickering, all repairs put off because every spare cent had gone into their curated suburban fantasy. The house felt colder without Maria's laughter. No more family dinners, no more warmth. My phone rang again, Isabella's name this time. Perfect, I'd waited years to say what needed to be said. I picked up after the fourth ring. Dennis, she said sweetly, her voice soaked in fake charm, the same tone she used when asking me to cover their taxes or overdue water bills. I heard about the little misunderstanding with Michael. Misunderstanding. I leaned on the kitchen counter, still in my coat. No misunderstanding. You've made yourself very clear. Look, it's not personal. My parents are just traditional. They expect a certain holiday atmosphere. What kind of atmosphere? I asked. I heard shopping bags rustling in the background. Probably another trip on my dime. They're not used to your kind of food, all those spicy dishes and the loud music, and well, they're educated people. They like to talk about art, literature, world events, you know. The words stung more than I expected. I'd swallowed 8 years of insults, kept quiet for Michael's sake. Accepted being treated like a handyman instead of family, my kind of food. I repeated, you mean the meals you ate every Sunday when you were broke? The tamales you said tasted like home? That was different. We were grateful then, but with my parents around, you can't have a Mexican guy ruining your picture. Perfect dinner. Don't be dramatic, she snapped. This isn't about race, it's about class. My father graduated summa cum laude. My mother speaks 4 languages. They vacation in the Hamptons. What would you bring to the table? Stories about construction. Anger boiled inside me, but I kept my tone calm. I built a business from nothing after your husband's grandfather died. I gave jobs to over 50 people. I've paid more in taxes than your father made in his best year. Money isn't everything, Dennis. Class matters. Education matters. Maria understood that better than you. She knew her place. Silence. She'd gone too far. I hadn't realized where my line was until she crossed it. What did you just say about my wife? I'm just saying she knew how to blend in. She didn't rock the boat. She accepted there were places that weren't meant for her. My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles went pale. Maria had more grace in one fingertip than your entire family ever will. Oh please, she scoffed. She was a housekeeper who got lucky. At least she had the sense to stay quiet. I didn't recognize my voice when I spoke again. This conversation is over. We're done pretending we're family. You can't just. We're done, I said again, then ended the call. I placed my phone gently on the counter, surprised by how steady my hands felt. The kitchen around me seemed different, smaller, but somehow clearer, like the air had finally been scrubbed clean of something heavy. I walked over to my desk tucked in the corner and pulled out a manila folder I'd been avoiding for months. Inside, a mountain of paperwork, bank records, mortgage documents, years of automatic payments that had quietly drained me while they lived like royalty. It was time to stop bleeding. Part 4, the first step. Ending the payments, I spread the papers across the kitchen table like evidence in a trial. Every page screamed the same story. $2.08. 100 disappearing from my account on the 15th of each month. 5 years of silence and sacrifice. I picked up my calculator and started punching numbers. Year 1, $33,600. Year 2, another $33,600. By year 3, I had stopped buying myself anything new. By year 4, I'd switched to dollar stores and clearance racks. By year 5, I was living on peanut butter sandwiches just to scrape by. Total $143,400. And that didn't include the down payment I'd fronted, the utility bills I'd quietly covered when Isabella's shopping spiraled, or the roof, the landscaping, the new furniture they needed to maintain their curated lifestyle. I leaned back, eyes fixed on the blurred numbers in front of me. All of Maria's life insurance, the retirement savings we built together, even the college fund we had started for grandkids, kids I'd likely never get to meet. Gone, and for what? A home where I wasn't even invited for a holiday meal. I picked up my phone and found my bank's number. The automated voice greeted me in both English and Spanish. How thoughtful, so inclusive. I followed the prompts and eventually heard a calm, professional voice. "Thank you for calling. This is Jennifer. How may I help you today?" "I need to stop an automatic transfer," I said. My voice, surprisingly, was the calmest it had been in years, of course. "May I have your account number and some verification information?" I recited the details while she typed. No hesitation, no shame. "I see the recurring payment," she confirmed. $2,800 monthly to Wells Fargo, account ending in 7,423. "How long have you been sending this transfer?" 5 years. The words were bitter in my mouth. "And you'd like to cancel it, starting now?" I looked around my kitchen. The aging appliances, the scuffed walls, the windows that leaked cold air in the winter. All the home repairs I delayed because I was funding someone else's lifestyle. "Yes," I said, immediately. "It's done. The transfer is canceled. Anything else I can help with?" "No," I replied. And for the first time in a long while, saying no felt good, really good. I ended the call and sat in the heavy silence of my home. Outside, winter dusk was settling over Spokane. In windows all around the neighborhood, Christmas lights flickered in warm patterns, families gathering without guilt, without conditions, just love. For the first time in 5 years, my budget would finally balance. For the first time since losing Maria, I could consider fixing the porch light, buying real groceries, maybe even taking a trip somewhere. I gathered the papers, 5 years of silent sacrifice, and walked over to the fireplace. I lit a match and fed each page into the flames, one by one, watching my martyrdom dissolve into glowing ash. The warmth from the fire reached my face. I hadn't felt that kind of warmth in years. My phone buzzed, probably a message from Michael or Isabella. An apology, or maybe another request for money, something essential. Like curtains or scented candles. I didn't check it. Instead, I grabbed the expensive bottle of whiskey I'd been saving for some elusive special occasion. Tonight was finally worthy. I poured a glass, held it up to Maria's photo on the mantel, and to the quiet room that no longer felt empty, but full of a man reclaiming his dignity. "Merry Christmas to me," I whispered and meant it. Part 5. Isabella's nerve the next morning dawned cold but bright. Sunlight poured through my kitchen windows as I sipped my second cup of coffee. I wasn't worrying about what would vanish from my account in a few days. I had even treated myself to some premium Colombian roast, and freedom had never tasted so good. At exactly 10:47 a.m., my phone rang. Isabella's name lit up the screen like a hazard sign. "Dennis," she said, her voice tinged with her usual tone of barely hidden annoyance. "I need you to pick up my parents from the airport. They land at 2:00, flying in from Portland." I set down my mug, watching the steam curl slowly upward. "Did you forget the conversation we had yesterday? Whatever that was," she said dismissively, "we need to be practical now. They need a ride, and you're the only one with a flexible schedule." The entitlement in her voice was staggering. Not even a full day had passed since she'd told me I wasn't welcome at their table, and now I was being summoned as a chauffeur for her family. "And why exactly are you asking me?" I said. "Because that's what families do, Dennis," she snapped. "They support each other." Her voice hardened. "Let's be real, you're not a threat to me, you're not competition, you're just available, so get in your truck and do the job." There it was, one final insult, disguised as a favor. "What airline?" I asked. "Alaska, flight 447. They'll be at baggage claim carousel 3. And Dennis, they're expecting someone who knows how to handle their luggage without making a scene. Please don't embarrass us." I could hear her fingernails clicking against the granite counter I'd paid for when she decided laminate was beneath her. "Of course," I said. "I'll handle everything. Good. And wear that blue shirt you had on at Michael's graduation. They notice things like that." She hung up. "No, thank you." I stared at the blank screen for a moment. 2:00 p.m. Alaska flight 447, carousel 3. I looked at the clock above the sink. 10:52 a.m. Still hours to go. I poured myself another coffee, tossed in a little extra sugar, and opened the newspaper. The crossword puzzle from the day before was still waiting. 7 across, delayed gratification, 12 letters. I figured I'd let the answer come to me, just like everything else finally was. Part 6. The airport betrayal. It was 2:15 in the afternoon. I had just settled into my favorite armchair, cradling a fresh cup of Earl Grey. The Spokane Review's Sunday edition spread across my lap. Yesterday's crossword, fully completed, rested on the coffee table in front of me. The final clue had been delayed gratification. I smirked at the irony. The quiet hum of my phone broke the peace. Isabella again. I let it ring out. The pale winter sun filtered through the windows, casting golden lines on a living room that had often felt like a tomb. But today the silence had a different feel, not loneliness, peace. A peace I had earned. By 2:47, she'd sent a text. "Dad, where are you?" "My parents are." I flipped the phone face down and continued reading the sports section. The Seahawks had lost again. Some things were as dependable as gravity. By 3:30, the phone had buzzed 6 times. I brewed more tea and began clearing out the junk drawer in my kitchen, something long overdue. Funny what you can get done when no one's treating you like their unpaid butler. The 7th call came at 3:45, an unfamiliar number, likely her parents calling from a borrowed phone at the airport. I let it go. Outside, the neighbor was stringing up Christmas lights, his kids darting around in sugar-fueled chaos. Normal families doing normal things, not standing in a parking garage, fuming because their servant decided not to show. By 4:15, the buzzing became relentless. I silenced it all. Landline unplugged, cell phone switched off. At last, stillness. Dinner was a grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup. Simple comfort food I hadn't let myself enjoy in months, always cutting corners to fund someone else's lifestyle. The sandwich was golden perfection. The soup steamed gently in my favorite mug. Outside, the shadows lengthened across the yard. By 5:00, I'd eaten, cleaned up, and was weighing movie choices for the evening. It was the first time in years I wasn't waiting for someone to demand my time, money, or car keys. I had just picked up the remote when the banging started. It wasn't a knock. It was a pounding, angry, insistent, shaking the door on its hinges. I already knew who it was. 3 figures loomed on the porch like an angry mob. Cody Jenkins, red-faced, stormed into my living room uninvited. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he barked. "We waited over 3 hours at that damn airport." Catherine followed, her hair in disarray, her expression tight with fury. "This is outrageous, Dennis. Truly barbaric behavior." Isabella trailed behind them, disheveled and furious. "You humiliated us. My parents had to take a cab. I didn't flinch. Get out," I said calmly. Cody's face darkened. "You don't get to kick us out. Not after the stunt you pulled. This is my house," I replied coldly. "And I want you gone, now." Catherine stepped forward, dripping with superiority. "You clearly don't understand what you've done. My husband is well connected." "This was a lesson," I said, meeting her eyes, "about your arrogance and how you treat people you think are beneath you." Isabella gasped. "You think you're some kind of teacher. You're nobody. I'm the man who finally stopped being your bank and chauffeur." I opened the door wide. "Get out," Cody jabbed a finger near my chest. "You've made a serious mistake. I know people who can make your life hell." "Is that a threat?" "No, it's a promise," Catherine smirked. "Actions have consequences." Isabella tugged on her father's sleeve. "Let's go. He's not worth it." They left, but not before Cody turned back. "You'll regret this." I locked the door behind them and exhaled. Their anger still echoed, but for once it didn't shake me. At last I was free. The newspaper attack 3 days later. I nearly dropped my coffee mug when I saw my photo on page 3 of the Spokane Review. Spokane man leaves elderly couple stranded during holiday storm. There I was, my face beside a fabricated story painting me as a cruel, unstable old man who abandoned his family in a blizzard that didn't even exist. It had been 52 degrees and sunny. Cody and Catherine were cast as the helpless elderly tourists left in peril. Not a single word about the years I'd paid their bills. Not a mention of the dinner I was banned from. Just villainy served cold. The journalist was Patricia Morrison, someone Cody had clearly contacted through his business network. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a campaign. That's when I understood they weren't just petty. They were tactical. So I got tactical too. The evidence I spent 3 days digging. 5 years of canceled checks, bank statements, receipts, every dime I'd spent propping up their fantasy. Down payment, $47,000 kitchen renovation, $18,000 mortgage payments, $168,000 total, $237,000 plus I printed photos from their social media, fancy vacations, new furniture, designer clothes, things I had unknowingly paid for. Then I found the final piece, Michael's LinkedIn profile, a recent connection to Patricia Morrison. It all fit. They made 3 fatal errors. They underestimated me. They attacked me publicly. They documented their hypocrisy online. Now I had a plan, and Christmas Eve was the perfect day to execute it. The dinner crash Christmas Eve, 6:45 p.m. Through the windows of Isabella's house, I saw the dinner party in full swing, 12 guests, laughter, wine, holiday cheer. I walked in unannounced, carrying my briefcase. Conversation died. Evening, everyone. I said, placing documents on the sideboard. Isabella stood. You need to leave? Actually, I replied, distributing packets around the table. I thought your guests should know who really paid for this dinner, this house, and this lifestyle. Each packet included proof of payments, social media photos, annotated copy of the newspaper article. Faces around the table turned pale as they read. Is this real? Someone whispered. Isabella, another asked. It's complicated, she stammered. Dennis offered to help. No. I corrected. You demanded help. And when I stopped, you tried to destroy me. I pointed to Cody. He used his connections to place that article. He began. It was 52 degrees. I said, not a blizzard, and you weren't stranded seniors. You were entitled liars. Gasp. Murmurs. I pulled up screenshots of social media posts mocking my heritage, my cooking, my company. People looked disgusted. I supported them for 5 years. I told the room, while they called me names and cut me out of family holidays. Michael sat in stunned silence. One guest turned to Catherine. You did this to the man who funded your lifestyle. The room fractured. Accusations, apologies, embarrassment. A carefully curated world collapsing under the weight of truth. I gathered my things. Enjoy your dinner. It's the last one I'll ever pay for. 3 months later in March, a letter arrived. Notice of default. Final warning. Michael and Isabella had missed 3 mortgage payments. Without my monthly support, their house of cards was collapsing. The phone calls had started weeks earlier. I ignored them all. Then Michael knocked on my door alone. Defeated. Dad, I'm sorry. He looked around my modest home, newly renovated with my money, furniture I'd bought, repairs I'd finally afforded, a life I'd reclaimed. I didn't know what they were saying about you, he said. About Mom. I stared at him, and now, I know I was wrong. I should have defended you. Can we start over? You asking for help with the mortgage. Silence. I'm going to lose everything, he whispered. You'll figure it out, like I did. He started crying. I lost you. No, I said quietly. You gave me away. He nodded. Can you ever forgive me? I already did, but that doesn't mean I'll let you use me again. I showed him a photo of me with Rosa and her kids, people who truly valued me. You want a relationship, I said. Then earn it with respect, not guilt. As he left, he looked back. For what it's worth, I was proud of you that night. Good, I replied. Maybe you're learning. Later, I poured a glass of whiskey and stepped onto my porch. The air smelled like spring. My phone buzzed. A message from Rosa. Dinner Sunday. The kids want to show you their projects. I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. A real family, it